What is up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. My name is Josh Doyle.
And I'm Tommy Doyle, and we're the founders of Uncharted Adventures.
And you're listening to Soul of the Wild. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Soul of the Wild. Our last episode did so well. We got so much feedback. I'm assuming we got messages from around the world. So I'm going to just take some time and read through some of those. Let me pull them up here real quick. Okay.
That's sweet from around the world?
Yeah, I'm not seeing any messages so far. Oh, here's one. Okay, let's see. Josh, I like the podcast, but your beard makes you look a little chubby. Don't be afraid to enunciate. Love, Mom.
Love,
okay,
Mom.
So that's it. I guess if we go around and just talk about how successful this podcast has been.
it really matters. Where was your mom in the world at the time? Because
good point. So technically, the podcast has grown. It's hard to keep up with the demand of listeners. We get just so many people wanting us to be a part of their show. They want to hop on our show. And anyways, well, thanks, Mom, for listening. And we love you so much. And I will work on enunciating. But no, for real.
And that beard.
Pumped. And that beard. Yeah, I'll shave this. She's actually said that to me before. She's like, you look a little chunky with that beard. Like, well, thank you.
Josh, you look great, but the beard, not so much.
Keep the beards, guys.
Anyway, so we're actually very excited because this podcast is growing. And our last episode was picked up by CBN News. And we're just starting to see people get excited about the content we're producing. So this is going to be a continuation of the last episode. So this is part 2 of showing up, and why is it important to show up, and why and how could the Lord use me even if I'm not really equipped to go out to the mission field. So we hope that this episode will inspire and encourage you guys to get out. And who knows, maybe you guys will join us on the field someday. So next year, we will be taking some trips, Danny, Tommy, and I, and we would love for you guys to be a part. So without further ado, here is Danny and Tommy.
How's it going? Glad to be here, Josh.
What's up, guys? And
Danny,
also,
good to see you, Tommy.
Yeah, you too, my man. You're our friendly neighbors to the north up in Canada.
That's right.
How's the weather up there, man? You guys surviving?
Dude, seriously, if something isn't burning, it's like minus 1,000, or snow is pretty much burying everything. So it's right in line with the season we're all in with all this pandemic stuff. So
nice.
10 times.
Cool. Love it. Well, if you guys are listening to this audio version, make sure to tune in. We've got a video that you can now watch on YouTube. So be sure to follow us there and subscribe, and then tell your friends if you like the content. But so I think it'd be good to talk about this topic today, and it's showing up and why missions. So Danny, you can start the discussion. Why missions? Why did you get drawn to it? Why should other people be a part of it? And we'll start there.
Yeah, man, honestly, when I'm seriously thinking about missions, I think about this. I think about, my goodness, if God is real and eternity is real, like if we really believe it, if you really believe that God made the world and he created the world and heaven and hell is real, how could we not make that our highest focus and priority? Do you know what I mean?
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Like if people are actually, it's possible for some people to be separated from God eternally. How could we not throw everything behind changing that? If someone was walking across the street and a building was about to burn down and you knew it, but some toddler was wandering in there, you'd you'd tackle that kid. You'd do whatever you had to do to keep them from. So how could we not throw everything in our lives towards the big picture of God's kingdom? So that just resonates deep down in my spirit, and always has since the very beginning.
That's cool.
Absolutely. And that's such a big, it takes so much faith to make that leap to be in the place where you're like, yes, I want to throw everything at this. Because if it was like for those that are unbelievers, if it was 100% clear to them, if there was proof, let's say, that heaven and hell exist and what you do on earth has an eternal impact on your life, if they knew without a doubt, people would not be living the way they do. So the way that you're saying that, Danny, that is a big indicator of faith that you are on board with that, Yeah. It would be crazy if everybody had the same faith they have in different things in life with, eternity.
Yeah.
The world would be a different place.
Totally.
It would.
Like keeping eternity in mind. I know for me, when I was, I never growing up, missions, all that was not even on my radar. I didn't want to have a desire to go. In part of that, I was definitely not in a lifestyle where I wanted to do that. I was much more wrapped up in the party scene and just wanting to live in day by day and all that. But I do remember when I started walking with the Lord, I just would see the shape of Africa, like the continent, like on someone's necklace or a shirt or something like that. And I just kept thinking, man, I would love to go there someday. I'd love to go to Africa someday. And never really had that desire growing up. But then all of a sudden, I just feel like that was the Lord really putting that destination on my heart. And I really wanted to go, and I had no really way of doing it. I just kept thinking, man, that'd be cool to go. And so, yeah, I think missions are super important. And yeah, that's the whole reason why I'd love this podcast, to get people excited about joining, and being a part of what's going on.
It's cool, Josh. I think what you're talking about is something I see so commonly amongst believers. Is there's something in their spirit that they can't even describe, but it's this urge to go.
Yeah, totally.
And it gets buried with the world pressures and career pressures and financial pressures, and then you buy a home and you raise a family and whatever. But a lot of people have this, I'm made, I'm designed, I'm called to something bigger. And a lot of people don't chase that. They don't find out, why is that in my spirit? Why do I feel that pull? And so they get caught up in the day-to-day, and they're going the 9 to 5, and that sits in their spirit burning but suppressed. And there's a lot of people there where they're like, I've always wanted to do what you're doing. I hear that sometimes, I'm sharing stories and speaking or whatever. I want to do that, but
I couldn't. Yeah. Yeah, it's just showing up is the hardest part, putting yourself out there, right?
When you overcome that, and you're like, I'm going to go on that trip. I'm going to finally do the thing I feel burning. I'm going to jump out. I'm going to go do it. And you sign up for that trip, and you get the funds, or however that happens, and then you go. It just, something in you gets unleashed.
Yep, totally. So
I think people get lulled into that. I think people get lulled into that false sense of trying to control and provide comfort, security for them and their families, whether that's financially or through a house or whatever. But yeah, that is definitely deceitful, because a lot of people that I've met are in the prime of their life where they could go out and make a big difference. Not that anybody can't at any age, but when you're younger, in your 30s, 20s, whatever, you have the vitality, the energy, you can get up at 5 a.m. and stay up till 2 a.m. And that's, if we weren't, we collectively, if we weren't deceived to, be seeking these things that are fleeting and momentary, like comfort and security of, making sure that next paycheck is all the way up there and putting a little bit more towards the mortgage or rent or,
Right.
Yeah, and that requires a step of faith for sure, because these, expeditions, these outreaches are, a little bit cost intensive at times. And you need to take that leap of faith and be like, this money isn't mine anyways, Lord. So
Just gonna
I
go
want to
for
use
it.
it towards your kingdom and, not only help the people I'm going to be around, my teammates, participants, the people over there, wherever I'm going, but also, changing my own life and the way I view people, society, everything. So
Yeah, man. It reminds me of the like rich young ruler. It's like you get to the brink of you're having a face to face with Jesus, and you understand his claims and everything he's doing, and then it's like, okay, now is my turn to pay the price. Like if you don't know that story, it's this rich ruler, and Jesus said, go give up everything, give it up, give it all away, go sell everything, give it to the poor, and then come follow me. Now, he's not saying that to every believer. He's not saying, hey, you can't follow me unless you are homeless and go,
yeah,
Right.
like he's not saying it's wrong to have houses and cars and whatever.
yeah,
But for this specific guy who felt that desire, he was like, I want eternal life. What must I do to really connect with you, to really make a difference, to really, like, what do I got to do? And Jesus is like, give up everything, come follow me. Like, he challenged him, and that guy just like went away sad because that price, that cost seemed too high. And I see that on so many people, as we go on these trips and we have like, hey, we're going to the Amazon and we're going to do all these things in boats and tents, and we're going to go and share the gospel with unreached people, and people are excited. They get excited and they're like, oh my gosh, that's been burning, like Josh, what you were saying, about that, like something, it just keeps calling them, and they have this opportunity, and I'm like, well, then come on this trip. It's going to cost you $3,600.
yeah.
And they just like,
See, the thing about that, I'd also have to use vacation time, and
Right.
Yeah.
But that goes back to the original, I think Tommy and Danny, you're both talking about this, the price of getting out there. It just seems like such a big obstacle to have to go and pay all this money to go. But the benefit of being there, let's talk about that. The benefit of showing up, being in country. And I mean, you can even like, I'm thinking about some of my first few trips and all that. And so many stories come up. And I know you guys have that too. But what is the benefit of showing up, right? Like the benefit of showing up is being at the center of what God's doing around the world, and it's like, so then you think about, well, there's a price. If there's a price tag, I don't want to go out and it's going to be so hard to get to the mission field because it's 3,800 or whatever. But if you think of it from the end in mind, like the Lord is going to use you, and you're going to be right there on the front lines where God is doing things, where, like we've talked about this in a few episodes, where miracles are happening, things that you don't see when you're working at Best Buy, or flipping fries at Mickey D's, so like it's just stepping out of that comfort zone. I think that's a part of it too, stepping out of that comfort zone and going, all right, I'm gonna just go for it. And I remember this when I'd go to countries, like I wanted to go to Africa. I was like, oh, there's a trip to Tanzania, cool, I'll go. I didn't know the name of the city. I didn't even know the name of the people group. I wanted to go. I didn't care where. It happened to be like the Maasai tribe and these really cool unreached people groups, and it's like these high level adventure trips, and of course that's like, I really dig this too. But what's funny about that is, I would just go. I don't know, like, are we in Kenya or Tanzania? I didn't care. I just wanted to go.
Yeah, I've had that.
So
What day
what do you
is
guys?
it?
Great.
Yeah, what day is it?
I mean, showing up is a big thing, and I will preach that to the end, because that had such an impact on my life. I was focused on, very worldly things, partying.
What worldly things?
partying, drinking, clubs, bars, all that. Nothing great. And I had the opportunity to go to Egypt. Josh, you were actually on that trip.
Yep.
And the reason I felt led to do this, my walk with the Lord was not great at that time. I don't think I'd stepped foot in a church for over a decade. But the reason I felt led to go was because my mom was leading a women's team out there. And
yeah, I know why you went.
Women's team.
Women, not girls.
Yeah,
but
sign me up.
Women,
that's what
you know,
were
there's
like.
bars. There's bars in Egypt. We can continue
No
this party.
So, but honestly, seriously, it was for like they needed
Security.
men, you know, for security, like because they were going to a semi-dangerous area in Egypt, southern part of Egypt, El Mina area, and because it was, I think, 15 to 20 women. Josh, you and my dad were the only guys there, and just needed more men for, you know, security. But that, you know, I had no desire to go to Egypt. You know, pyramids, Nile, sure, I'll check it out. But it wasn't like I want to go spend 3 weeks there.
Yeah. Eat pitas that are just filled with sand from the Sahara.
Oh,
you know, it's
yes,
like everything you eat, you're just chewing sand.
Grindy.
You wake up and you're like, what's for breakfast? And they got pinto beans and what else did we have? Like
it was pinto beans. It was like not sour cream, maybe cream cheese.
Oh, and some breakfast hot dogs. Who doesn't want a breakfast dog? You know,
Yeah.
It's just like oh. So it's not like it's a resort vacation, you know, like you're saying. But
I mean, sometimes they are, but this trip was not. And for me, the biggest thing was just showing up. Okay, you know what? There's help that's needed, and I can provide that. And you know, family is important to me, and sure, I want to help out these people over in this impoverished area in El Mina. And that act of doing that was all I needed to, you know, the Lord, for him to like change the trajectory of my life. At that moment, I would have just, you know, kept going straight, working hard in the corporate world and going to bars every weekend. And that's what I would live for.
I'll say this too, man. Like you completely changed from that trip, and drinking was a pattern for you. Like this would be good to do like an episode on addiction, because I know there's so many people out there that struggle with this. But dude, like that trip alone completely changed your direction.
It broke it.
It broke it. And the drinking cycle, everything, like the drinking cycle that you were in completely broke that. And it's dude, like completely
no
changed your
excuses,
life.
but I am Irish and Italian, so it just kind of came naturally.
Well, I'm Scottish, so we have
Every
so it's important
has.
for us to be on mission.
Yeah.
But you know, it's been, I think,
awesome.
7 years since I've even had a drink, and you know, it all started on that trip.
Yep.
And
I'm glad you brought that up, man.
I had a few issues and different things where I, you know, had more than I should before I completely gave it up afterwards. But that was the pivotal moment. And for me, it was just agreeing, surrendering, saying, you know what, I'm stepping out in faith, out of my comfort zone, out of my security. I'll go over there. And it was crazy, man. I wish you were there, Danny.
Oh, dude, that next one
would have had a drink together.
You know what I love, Tommy? I love that you went, even though your life wasn't completely all together.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Like, and I love that about people that want to go, is that you don't need to be put together. Rarely, very, very few people are 100% put together. I don't think anybody is. But, you know, people expect to be like, well, I need to have a better walk with Christ. I need to know more about the Old Testament. I need to be actively engaged in a community group, Bible study, and mentoring program or something like that. You don't need any of that, you know? Like, as long as your heart is in the right place, you're wanting to make changes, you're wanting to follow the Lord, like that's all you need. You don't have to be perfect. Everybody's got issues. I mean,
totally.
So it's cool because every team we brought to different places in the Middle East and all over Josh and Danny, there's always been a couple people on that trip that are hurting or going through something that we're, not trying to get invasive about, but that they end up sharing about on this. And it's really a time for us to pour into them, each other, to, pour into each other. And, me and my past, I'm able to speak to that with a little bit of knowledge, and be like, hey, I've been there. I can,
totally.
And so I think that's pretty awesome.
Totally. God uses
man.
people with a little bit of a limp, right? They have a past they're bringing their issues, they've had past issues, and everyone's, people think, oh, if you got to be missionary, like you said, you got to have everything perfect, and that's not the case. A lot of people that I've met they've got a limp. They're carrying something on that they've been through. But do we think that the Lord could use us because of that? A lot of people don't. But what you're just saying, and what I think we could say in this podcast, is that the Lord will use those people, use everyone, right? And those situations from your past, like you said, Tommy, drinking, smoking cigarettes, whatever that may be, you can relate to people. There's no judgment because you've been through that, right?
So, like I know missionaries, like I know personally, and I'm serving alongside currently missionaries who were denied their application to different mission agencies because they went through this super lengthy, excruciatingly vetting process that I'm not like, okay, if you're gonna come and join and be full-time and raise support, I understand, the Bible has standards for things, but man, perfection is not one of them. And I know great people who have tried to apply but have been denied because whatever, like something came up, or you've got this in your past or whatever, and they've been denied. And my heart breaks because I'm like, man, look at like every man of God, every woman of God, probably, in the Bible, like it just, every single one has had issues, but yet God used them and he redeemed them and propelled them despite. I mean, what's the point of the story of the prodigal son?
Right.
Or the woman at the well, or the Jesus will leave the 99 and go after the one, or Peter denied Jesus, and like just the Zacchaeus. All these stories. King David, my gosh, he would have been disqualified from so many mission organizations, but yet King David, God's talking about him in Revelation still. It's just sometimes I feel like that standard is so, and we've got all this 2,000 years of history. So of course, as humankind, we're going to build systems around it. We're going to build, all this criteria and stories, and build theology and processes and policies and all this stuff. And sometimes I'm like, man, God used the woman at the well whose life was broken. She'd been in four or five marriages, and was now in a relationship that wasn't marriage. And God still used her to reach her entire village that day. The moment she met Jesus, she turned around, she led her entire village to Jesus. And I just think, like, what qualifications did she have? What process did she go through? What vetting? Well, before you go into town, we need you to sit over here, and we have a process. It's going to take 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or you need a degree. We need you to go for 4 years of training. And no, she just dropped her buckets, went into town. It's like, you got to meet this guy that I met.
I love it.
That's so incredible. Good. It's
so good.
Just showing that, to anybody out there that's listening or watching, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have everything together. Look at the apostles. I mean, every single one of them had serious character flaws and issues in their lives. If Jesus were to pick the perfect people, it would have been more like the Pharisees, right? because at the
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
time, in people's eyes, they had it all together.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He chose the average, working Joe, the people that didn't have it all together, but were willing to show up and had that faith. And it turned into overwhelming faith, So he can use us all. And we've seen it. We've seen it with different participants that, that we go through a process ourselves of talking to people before they go on a trip, and we talk amongst ourselves. Yes, they'd be great. Some of the people that we've been like, their heart's in the right place. I don't know if this is the right exact trip for them. We have other stuff.
We got another trip for you. Yeah.
But some of those people,
we'll email you back. We'll get back to you.
It's a Walmart.
Yeah.
Some of those people have stunned us, though, have shocked us, where we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they have become the glue to our team, or helped us out in situations where, man, if we wouldn't have had them with us, we would have been in trouble.
Tommy, give us an example.
Dude, I got one. I got one.
Josh? Go.
I got one for real. We had a lady that came up to us after we were speaking somewhere, and she's like, I want to go on this trip. I want to hike the Jesus Trail. I haven't wanted to do missions in over a decade, but after hearing you guys speak, I just feel like I want to go. It's like, okay. She's like, I want to do this. I want to do the Jesus Trail with you guys. I thought, okay, we got a really young team going. And we were thinking, okay, I think it'd be great to do this. And we kept praying over this. Is this the right move? Because we had such a young team, which we typically don't. But this one was, college age kids. And we were around the same age at the time. And so I was like, should we have this person come along? And we kept praying through it. We just met her. Is this something we should do? And sure enough, we're like, let's do it. Let's bring her. And that person she lit up the whole trip. She was so much fun. Everyone loved being around her. And she's still involved with the ministry, heavily involved with the ministry.
Oh, yes. She became like the trail mom and took care of everyone.
Yes.
And oh, she was incredible.
And if we almost passed over that and said, you know what, we're trying to keep it a certain feel, but I'll say this, and I've always said this, and it's super cheesy, but I'll say it again. The Lord will completely assemble the team, and 100%. It'll be every time, and you may think we should have this person, we shouldn't have that person, but God knows who needs to go at what time and when. And Danny, I know we did a trip together where all three of us did actually, where there was someone that was going to come, but there was passport issues or whatever. And you look back and go, God, was that you saying that this person should not go? Or so it's an interesting conversation, but do you remember that, Danny, how big of a bummer that was?
Dude, yeah. I mean, giving control of God to a trip it's a scary and beautiful thing. Yeah, I remember showing up. This is like the worst missionary fail. I have 50 stories right now of amazing people and things that could have gone right, and tell you stories of we didn't want to take this person, but God worked it out. But here's a total missionary fail. This one girl, young lady, wanted to come on a trip to Israel, and her passport, when she got to the airport, would expire literally 1 day later than her return date. And so they denied her access to the plane. And my goodness, that was such a horrible, imagine all these people for months, 8-9 months, you're training them, you're preparing them, you're getting them excited, you're sending them information, you're having Zoom meetings, you're doing all these things. And then she shows up, she's just raring to go, she's packed, she's planned, she shows up at the airport, and now she can't go. And I'm calling the consulate in the country that we're going to try to, convince them to change. Can you make an exception? No, there was no budging. Nothing could be done. She went on, and I'd have to check into this story again, because I'm going from a bit of memory, but I remember that something amazing happened in her life 3 or 4 days later. I don't know if any of you guys remember that, because she emailed all of us. I don't remember, but something incredible and life-changing happened in her life that opened up a door that she would have missed. And that, to me, it shows me how in control God is of the individual team members.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. Do
Wow.
you remember what it was, Tommy?
I don't.
Oh,
I
I thought you
remember.
were.
I remember something though on the trip that we heard, like, well, because of her hanging back, something that happened with her family,
Yeah.
she was able to be there for that. And then I remember hearing an update a month later. It'd be fun to check in on that, and then
I can do that
and see what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, guys, if you're listening, make sure to, if you want to know more about our trips, go to unchartedadventures.co/trips.
Because we're going
all over. We're going, and we want you to come. So join us, and you can go to our website. We have merch that we'll be putting up soon, and would love for you guys to be a part of what we're doing. So this would be fun to talk about too.
We don't just talk about it.
Yes,
although we want to talk about it.
Yeah,
we actually go.
We do it,
and then we come back and we talk about it. That's what this is all about.
Let's do this. What's everyone's not to like just rank everything. I want to go here, check that off. What's some of your top trips you guys are thinking about right now? Like an inspired, would love to do this. This is a dream trip to work with these people. What would you guys say?
Oh wow. I'd like to go back.
Narrow that.
Saudi Arabia would be big for me.
Yep.
Lord willing, one day I'd like to get to Syria. Right.
Dude, that's huge on my list.
Afghanistan.
Yeah. So in Syria, we're working with some people out there, and there are so many orphans just running around in the streets with no place to go, and it's really sad. We actually did a thing over Christmas where you could sponsor an orphan for $10, and they would get a warm coat and a present. And we actually sponsored it was 2,500 kids, and they each got $10, gets them a warm jacket and a present for Christmas. But the sad thing is they run around in packs and just run into little bombed out buildings, and they all kind of survive together, and there's no one to watch them. So dude, Syria would be a huge, that's definitely high on my list.
Dude, count me in.
Fun.
For me, I've been twice into the Amazon in South America. There are so many tribes down there that are unreached, but they are so open, and the miracles that happen and all that God does and the gospel is exploding down there. But I've got some river trips that I want to go down with tents and cooking outside and hiking in boats and all these, things that we do down there. I will always be invested there. As we do this, and we all know this, we're all, that are doing this, we're investing in different areas of the world amongst unreached. But the Amazon always calls to me a little special, just because of how it functions and all that it takes to get there. And so next trip, man, you guys, I want to do
like what country, Danny?
with you. We start in Peru, but
okay.
I don't know where we wind up because we go so far down the river. I'm like what you said earlier. I don't know what country you're in right now. Like I don't know
care
how far and I don't care because I'm, Earth.
I'll share this. I'll share this with anything. With anyone. With anything. Person.
Oh, hey, crazy monkey yelling outside my tent up in the tree.
Have you heard about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? This will just take a moment.
Have you heard of the 4 spiritual laws?
Let me tell you my testimony. I have it in thirds here. Before Jesus, when I met Jesus, and now,
and then after.
That's
follow
so cool.
up is difficult with the monkeys. I have noticed that. Yeah.
Yes. So, Tommy, did you go? Was yours Syria?
What was that?
Was your trip Syria? You'd want to go to?
Yeah, that's one of them. That and Saudi Arabia again. But Syria it'd be tough right now. I mean, even though it's not on the news like it was all the time, there's still a ton of fighting going on.
Yeah.
You got a lot of factions in there trying to fight for control, and Iran in there stirring up trouble. And it's just a very delicate situation. Now, Assad has said, we're open for tourism and stuff, and like certain cities are safe to fly into, like Damascus supposedly, but I wouldn't at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing?
Go for it.
Can I
Go,
say
Danny.
one thing? Let me preach for a second as a preacher. For us, considering going to Syria, Afghanistan, the Amazon, and all that we take, the excitement, the challenges, for some people listening, that might be the guy who's flipping fries at McDonald's, the guy who's working a 9 to 5 in a factory. That drive that we have to go all across the world to an unreached people is the same drive in someone, and the same tenacity that it takes us to get, and to all the things we have to overcome to go on our trip. There's some people that are working that, like, it takes everything within them to talk to a coworker about Jesus.
Right.
To them, that's their Amazon, that's their Afghanistan and Syria and Saudi Arabia. And so to those listening, anyone listening, man, like, if you've got a desire to see people come to Jesus, and you're in a job and you're like, I don't know if I can go to Syria right now. I mean, like, I'm working at this thing. But man, if you can look at the people around you and cross that border of relationship and say, hey man, I've been praying for you. And I just want you to know, like, I really care about you. And if there's anything specific I can be praying for you, I just want to let you know, you can share with me. You can tell me, and I want you to know I will pray about those things. And if Jesus changed my life, and I believe he can change yours, but no pressure. That
For sure.
however you approach people in relationships. But man, like, the mission field is not just over there. It's everywhere around us. And so I just want to reiterate that to anyone listening that's like, feeling a bit like that this is out of reach. It's like, no, it is all around us. And I just wanted to throw that in there.
No, that's so good, because we
point.
talk so much about going, but what are you doing in your community? What are you doing with the people around you? And it starts there.
It's both and not either or.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that's good. I'm glad you brought that up. Well, let's see. Danny, you brought this question up, but so who are some team members that stand out to you guys? And if I botch this question, Danny, feel free to jump in. But was that kind of it? Was just like who are some unique, whether it's funny stories, unique people, or just like someone that you don't expect that's just going to completely change the whole dynamic.
This
of the trip.
podcast would need to be 4 days.
Dude, I know. That's the thing. We need to do more. I love the other question. What are some worst airplane stories? And just some of those.
We'll get into that.
That could be a 2-parter, 3-parter for sure. But yeah, you guys, let's talk about this one. This is a good question. So yeah, unique characters, whether it's funny or characters that you think, like we were talking about earlier, this person, I don't know if we should have them, but they completely are the glue to the trip or make the trip. But yeah, let's do that.
Danny, you got anybody off the top of your head?
Dude, I don't know how to explain Jimmy.
Oh goodness.
Jimmy started out. He signed up for. It was actually all 3 of us were on this trip to Israel, and we went into the
Janine or Ramallah, or one of the two.
Yeah,
right.
No, both. I think we did both. I think we started in Ramallah. And I won't talk about the top level of the restaurant and what we saw across the street. But
Yes.
Jimmy was this guy that signed up for the trip, and I think he was like pretty close to 80. And this is a hiking trip where for 3 days we hike almost like, 50 miles when you calculate all the side stuff that we wind up doing.
Yeah.
And this is a big trip, and not just like a nice little hiking trail. This was like up and over terrain, and we're climbing mountains. Like, I remember us having to stop and just, breathe and let's everyone catch our breath. Maybe we should have lunch here, and so Jimmy, so we're preparing for this trip.
Yeah.
And I think it was our second one. I can't remember if it was our first one or second one. But anyway, Jimmy's calling every day in the months preparing up to it. And he's calling, and he's got all these questions about little details. And I remember Josh and I hopping on a phone call and being like, should we be bringing this guy? Like, are we going to see him off to heaven on this trip? Like, is this?
How old was he? He was,
dude, he was close to 80.
He was almost 80.
I'd say late
and the
70s.
rest of the trip was like, I don't know, 40-ish and under. So, pretty,
a little bit
like
of
it was a
there.
young adult trip. And then Jimmy. So it was like this misfit that we're like, should he have? And so I remember Josh, we were kind of getting like, wow, this guy's got questions every day, like multiple times a day,
Incessant.
and it felt like, I don't know if this is the trip for him. And I remember I phoned a friend who knew him, or we knew he knew one of the leaders in the organization that we knew at the time. And he so I phoned him and I was like, should we take this guy? And he's like, take him. I'm like, no, but listen. He's like, listen.
He's asking all these questions and
take him. And so we're like, okay. So I called Josh back and I'm like, hey, he says take him. And so we took him, and dude, he wound up being, like Tommy said earlier, the glue of the team. The guy was at the front of the line every day. He was
his Birkenstocks he didn't have shoes. Remember
he had sandals and socks.
Yeah.
How did he do it?
And a walking stick. Remember his big walking stick?
Yeah.
And then he's just plowing up these trails, and he's encouraging people, and he's doing devotionals over the mic over the bus that we had. Remember?
Yeah.
And he was such an amazing encouragement. I remember at the end of the trip. Let me share this one quick story.
Go for it.
I'll do it in 20 seconds. I said to Jimmy, Jimmy, I want to be like you when I'm your age, man. Just giving her. Sorry if that's a Canadian term. It means going full out.
Okay.
I like it too.
So I said, Jimmy, I want to be like you. I want to put everything into this for my whole life. And he looked at me, 80 years old ish, somewhere around there. Might have been a little more, a little less. He goes, yeah, when I was your age, I used to do 8 missions trips a year. Now that I'm old, I can only do 4.
Whoa.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm probably doing 4, maybe 5,
And it's a stretch.
It's hard. How did this guy do 8? I have no idea, but here he is still going. And I loved him. I really loved him. We all loved him. You guys remember Jimmy. He was amazing.
Yeah, he was
so
great.
Good.
He knew
Never
his
count yourself out.
Oh, I love it.
He knew all the plants and everything, so he'd be like, pick a random leaf off a bush and be eating it, or random fruit and things, and we're like, Jimmy doesn't need food. He just forages on his way.
Yeah, no, and he would tell us all. We'd all get a lesson on it. Like he would
because everyone's like, where'd you get that, Jimmy? That looks like some random poisonous thing. And he's like, oh no, knows the plant name and everything, and what time of year it's good to eat. It was hilarious.
We should get Jimmy on an episode. That would be amazing.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
He had some stories, I'm sure. Sorry about that. As you were telling that, Danny, my son just burst through the room and I just had to mute it and all that.
Nice.
Was it River or Griffin?
It was River. But yeah, Jimmy was awesome. I remember when we called that person, hey, should this guy come? He's a little bit older, we're a little bit concerned because this is like a intensive trip, a lot of physical activity we'll be doing. And he's like, oh, he'll do just fine, and he'll be walking circles around you guys. I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said at night he'll be the one keeping the spirits up too. And I remember that every mission
100%.
trip has like it's a roller coaster ride of emotions, and at some point you can feel the group really, in a way, not be as much in the kind of be more in their flesh, and things are getting to them and more upset and irritable with other teammates. Tension, where you don't have that as much on the front end. But anyways, Jimmy was the one there, and he was whistling, keeping us all encouraged. And I just remember we'd go to this is, we're going to these ruins, and it's clearly sectioned off, and you can't go across this border or this boundary line.
They're still
it's illegal.
excavating, right?
Yeah, they're still excavating all that. he would just hop over and he would be walking across these ruins, that's like all uneven and rock and rubble. And he would go and he'd say, "Oh, I collected these strawberries." And, "Oh, thank you." And it's like, glad no one saw that. We'd be kicked out. And
we lost
so,
Danny.
No, I just totally pulled my phone off the.
oh, can you hear us still?
Oh yeah,
Man, he was awesome though. So what about you, Tommy?
And I think with Jimmy, if he was doing 8 trips a year, I can almost bet you we should try to get him on here. But I bet all he did was show up to that first one and it changed his life. And,
Oh yeah.
And
totally.
then after that, he's like, I'm all in.
Oh, absolutely.
There's so many, like Danny was saying. Anyone that comes to mind right now? I have one or more from every single team. I think instead of picking one person, I could just say the theme would be that the people that you would least expect to really rise up to certain occasions where, you need to, I hate to keep saying step out of your comfort zone, but like, share your testimony, share a story, break the ice with a family that you're not comfortable, being around. Some of these people that we'd think, oh, okay, we're going to need to have a leader with them each day. Each team, there's somebody that just astonishes all of us by like
100%.
being the one that has a way to, develop rapport with a family or a person and
it's like they
so
were the
funny.
right person for that moment. Like everything in their life prepared them for this moment,
And they just shine. And you're like, oh my gosh, this conversation would not have gotten this far with this family. This family's, life will be changed because of this conversation, because this person came.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. What's coming to mind, besides the social fun interactions between the team, which is like, it's great for all of us, for our spirits and everything, and to remember. But with the people, that's where I love to see that each person and some of these people that were not, that stepped out in faith and just showed up, and all of a sudden you're like, we need this person on every trip.
Yeah.
Or instead of we need a leader with this person on each outing, we need this person to lead a group on each outing.
Yeah.
And it's like, leaders will talk to ourselves and we're like, blown away again. These people
so good.
So
Yeah.
Well, Jesus he took unlikely people, and I'm an unlikely person. Like I don't feel like I would have chosen this or done this, or that God would have chosen me. But man, he takes unlikely people, and he just makes them shine because he is our strength in our weakness. And it should be a prerequisite that someone feels unqualified. I actually love when a team member starts getting cold feet as it starts getting closer, and they're like, I don't know if I should. I'm just like, oh wow, Holy Spirit's just preparing that person, because they're, no, you need to show up now that you're in this place where you feel unqualified. I have nothing to. That's where God. And I think that's what Paul was talking about when he's like, in my weakness, God is stronger. He's my strength and weakness. All that stuff. It's so important. And I think I said it on a previous podcast, but I'd rather take someone green with no experience that feels unqualified than someone who's coming in with all the answers, and they got their program and they've experienced this and this worked, and
I'm going to shove this down your throat.
Yeah. I just want to jam this strategy. And it's like we have strategies, and we have tools, and we have training, and we have things that we have seen and learned and have been able to put together in a type of, hey, here's some things to expect. This is biblical and practical, and we prepare our teams for the trips that they're going to go on. But when someone barges past all that and is just like, nah, I got this, Like I don't want to deal with that on a team. It's so important to be humble and to be listening and to be sensitive to what's happening around you and to just listen to the Holy Spirit, because he does go with us.
Yep.
Yeah, because
Totally.
Danny, we've seen that where even though the intention was good and everything like that, somebody comes in and says, no, that's not the way it is, and they're wanting to do the right thing, but it's their own desires override like what they need to be doing, and we've seen it. They shame people unintentionally or things like that. Sorry, no,
Don't
Islam
honor people.
is bad, and you guys have been living in sin or something like that. And it's like, you cannot go into somebody's home and say anything like that at all. And we've seen that some of the people that we feel most qualified end up being, ones that can cause a little trouble and
cause damage for sure.
Yeah.
We've had people cause damage where we're building relationships with people, and then they'll come in and completely, disrespect them. I remember we were in a home once, and this person, I'm not going to mention names or anything, but was given a gift, and it was like a very nice gift in a very poor community, and it was like the one thing that they had that was like to honor this person. And I remember the person just wanting to finish what they had to say, and finishing. They were more focused on finishing and getting their point across than stopping, thank you, giving hugs, whatever. So they bring this gift out, and I remember the person going, thank you, you can set it over there. And I just remember going, are you kidding me?
Wow.
And they were so offended.
Yeah.
And that hurt the work that we were doing, and those people that feel overqualified or feel qualified, and maybe not overqualified. I don't think people ever feel overqualified, but qualified, and I'm going to bring this message and jam it down their throats, and they're lucky to have me be a part of this trip. That's not the spirit. That's not the person we want to bring.
Yeah.
Like the whole theme of this is when in our weakness, God is using us to, and so that is, I think, much more encouraging when you do bring people like that are humble and looking for a spot where they can fit in, and maybe they're kind of on the fringes of the group. Those people oftentimes at the right time have the thing to say that's going to completely, like you said, Tommy, change a person's life, a family. It's almost as if, God's in control and picks these people and not us. Oh, wait, that's basically what we've been saying this whole time.
It's kind of like, they get that, and I've seen it many times where you get into certain debates because it's two different religions meeting and talking and sharing their life experiences and completely different cultures and upbringings, but everything's the same down to the bare bones. Everybody desires love, comfort, friendship, family, security stuff. So it's easy to get along in that sense. But when you get people that are like set on getting their message out without reading social cues and whatnot, and borderline to offend people or like try to argue them to Christ, it's like,
it doesn't work that way.
Guys, this isn't working. Let's just at this point, if we're at an impasse, let's just love on them and let's get to know who they are and what really makes them tick and more about their community and stuff like that. We could just, not everything has to end in a conversation like that. And so it can go both ways,
Yep. I remember with, animals, livestock's very important to the Bedouin people, and camels especially. And there was a long conversation. I remember I stepped outside the tent and I come back, and they're talking about, whether animals would go to heaven or not. And that's a big thing for Bedouins, and we had a person on the team saying, no, they will not be going, and just completely damaging the relationship. And so it's important to bring the right people on a group. And I mean, this has been a good
important. Yeah.
Anyway,
I know. It's like, that's something you just say.
Yeah, you got to be
I don't
right
know much about that, but I certainly didn't come here to talk about whether camels go to heaven or not.
Yeah.
Your camels are great. I think they're amazing, but
I would want them in heaven.
I would too. I think so. Yeah.
I hope they are. Yeah, man. Well, guys, it's been awesome. I really hope that people will listen to this episode and be encouraged to want to go. And for the people really that may feel like they want to go and don't have the courage, confidence, whatever, that this episode would speak to them. And so, Danny, Tommy, this has been super fun. Let's do it again. And I know we got other topics to cover. And I know people really connect well with the stories. So, let's do another one soon and bring some
Josh,
stories. Yeah, go ahead.
With this setup here with the video and everything, are you able to show pictures on it?
I am, but it's a little bit funky right now. We were messing with it earlier.
Okay.
But yeah.
It'd be cool if we could share stories, like one of our top stories, each of us, but show a couple pictures from
Definitely.
When it happened or around the area or something like that.
Do you have that one picture of us in the Negev there?
I do. So let me see it. It'll overlay.
Just show everyone
funky.
that. Sorry for if you're just listening audio only, but you really need to go on the YouTube and check out this so you can see that picture right there.
I do love that picture.
That is so cool.
I remember it was I can't remember her name right now, but I remember can you four just go stand over there and so I can take a picture? And we're like, yeah, we can.
Of course.
And we just we pulled that off.
I love it.
It just happened. Act casual, and then this happened.
You guys ready? On 3, strike a pose. 1, 2, 3. And all of us went for everything we have within us.
I love it.
Somehow it went like karate and taekwondo and stuff, jump kicks.
And breakdancing. I see some breakdancing in there. I see some.
That was, dude, we got to get people out to the Negev. That's like one of my favorite places. That was out. So we go from Majdaleens and then we go up to the waterfalls and all, or to the oasis. That's a fun hike. We should plan a trip, and since that trip, I've got multiple friends down there, Bedouins in that area.
Yeah.
Sheesh,
we should plan a trip, like several. Humble brag there. Yeah, I'm pretty cool.
So many friends down there, you guys. I just can't wait for you to meet my friends.
I'm kind of a big deal in the Negev.
They kind of like fight over me. It's pretty cool.
I could just imagine we get down there and Tommy just like buddies with them and pretends he doesn't know us. You know those friends.
Come on, guys.
They change.
And then everywhere we go, like we can't get into anything. No one's paying attention, and I'm like, I'm friends with Tommy. And we're like, oh, and all of a sudden we're VIP and we just get ushered into everything.
Oh, Tommy, yeah.
Oh, Tommy.
I love it.
We should plan like a multiple day trip down there this time. Because usually it's only been overnight, like maybe 24 hours there. It'd be fun to do like a 72-hour trip down there or longer. We could do an entire 10 day. We could do a month there. Like there's so much need. There's so much going on with the Bedouin communities, and the need is great. They have, unfortunately, the Israeli government's trying to clamp down and control where they're living and everything.
Currently.
And so
we've been talking about a trip like this for a long time. With mainly it's been revolving around like a camel journey and a 3-day journey with camels. But I'm glad you brought this up, and that's part of the reason why I think this is fun to be able to do like more of a long form like this conversation. Is that we always are planning trips. We're constantly trying to push the boundaries and meet people and go to unreached, unengaged places. And so this is one that we would love to do. And if you're listening at this far, if you made it this far, then tell us, write us, if you want to go on a trip like this. But what it would be is essentially a 3-day, whatever, 4-day, journey in the desert. And it would be
on camel.
It'd be on camels with Bedouins, and we'd just be loving on people. And this would be
going
a trip
from like one oasis or watering hole to another on our way from one area of the desert to a different area, but spending time with the Bedouins the entire time as they like break down every night the camels and build up the tents and everything for the evening. And it'd be incredible.
It's amazing. It's so fun, you guys.
Let's do it. Well, I guess that'll do it for this episode. And make sure to go to our website, unchartedadventures.co. And this is where you can, if you go to the /podcast, if you have a question you want answered on air, then we will do it. We'll answer your questions on air. And then if you want to learn more about trips, go to unchartedadventures.co/trips. And again, we've got the audio podcast and we've got the video. So go to our YouTube channel and subscribe, share with your friends. And we hope that you guys will join us on a trip. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. And we hope that you'll join us next time.
See you guys. Good
Take
seeing
care,
you, Danny.
guys. Good
All
seeing
right.
Later,
you.
Josh.
See ya.